He gave the world electricity and died with 80 cents in a New York bank account. He talked to pigeons like they were family. Tesla moved to Paris and got a job with the Continental Edison Company, repairing. Westinghouse's company hit serious financial trouble in the early 1890s. Their survival was at risk, partly because of the royalty payments owed to Tesla for every unit of AC power generated. Payments that, if collected in full, could have made Tesla one of the wealthiest men in the world. According to accounts widely repeated, recognition and reward don't always arrive on the timeline we hope for, sometimes not in our lifetime at all. Tesla's story is a hard reminder that doing meaningful work doesn't guarantee a comfortable ending. It's a reason to build things that matter regardless of whether the applause comes now, later, or never. Here's what makes Tesla's story different from a tragedy. Today, the electrical grid that powers your home, your phone, the device you're watching this on right now, runs on the alternating current system Tesla dreamed up on a walk through a park, broke and recovering from a breakdown. Scientists measure magnetic fields today in a unit called the Tesla, his name permanently written into the language of physics. He didn't win because he got rich. He didn't win because his life was easy. He won because he refused to stop solving problems, even after poverty, betrayal, and public failure tried to convince him to quit. Success, in Tesla's story, was never about the money he made or lost. It was about the discipline he built after the gambling table, the habit of designing even while digging ditches, the choice to protect his invention's future over his own bank account. So here's a question worth sitting with. If the reward for your work never came in your lifetime, would you still choose to build it? Let me know your answer in the comments below. And if this story moved you, stay close, because next time, we're telling the story of another figure history tried to forget.